Lieutenant Jax Harlan wiped the sweat from his brow as he pushed through the thick emerald vines of planet. For Dana 7, the air hummed with alien life, bioluminescent insects dancing through shafts of amber sunlight, and strange bird-like creatures calling from the towering trees above. His scanner beeped steadily, mapping the unexplored terrain for the Colonial Survey team waiting in orbit. Then the sky screamed. Jax barely had time to look up before a sleek silver pod tore through the canopy, trailing sparks and smoke. The emergency hatch blew open mid-descent, ejecting its pilot in a blur of navy blue and gold. The alien crashed into him with the force of a meteorite, knocking him flat onto the soft moss below. The world spun. When his vision cleared, Jax found himself staring up at the most breathtaking creature he'd ever seen. She straddled his chest, her body pressed against his tactical vest, her weight both substantial and strangely pleasant. Navy blue skin smooth as polished sapphire covered her athletic frame, contrasting sharply with the cascade of blonde hair that fell around them like a golden waterfall. Her eyes, wide with shock, were the color of deep violets, flecked with silver that seemed to shimmer in the dappled light. For a long moment, neither moved. "Are you injured?" Jax managed, his voice rougher than intended. His hands had instinctively caught her waist to steady her, and he became acutely aware of how perfectly she fit against him, how warm her skin felt even through his gloves. The alien woman blinked rapidly, her lips a darker shade of blue parting in surprise. When she spoke, her voice was melodic, accented, and utterly captivating. No, I don't believe so." Her gaze traveled across his face with an intensity that made his pulse quicken. "You're human." "Guilty," Jax replied with a half-smile. "Lieutenant Jax Harlan, Earth Colonial Exploration Course. Should I be worried that you know what a human is?" Her eyes narrowed slightly, though curiosity danced in their violet depths. "Commander Solara of the Thalassian Imperial Fleet. And yes, we know of your kind." She tilted her head, studying him with unabashed fascination. "Though our briefings failed to mention how sturdy you are." "I tried to stay in shape," Jax quipped, very aware that she still hadn't moved. "Speaking of which, do you need help getting up, Commander?" Solara's expression shifted, something flickered across her features that Jax couldn't quite read. Her fingers, which had been braced against his shoulders, slowly curled into the fabric of his vest. "That's peculiar. What is?" "I find myself reluctant to move." Her voice dropped to barely a whisper, confusion and wonder mixing in equal measure. "This sensation is most irregular." Jax's heart hammered against his ribs. "What sensation?" Those violet eyes locked onto his, and the universe seemed to shrink to just the two of them. Tangled together on the forest floor. Solara single quotes S breath came in short, measured gasps as she struggled to comprehend what was happening to her. For 3 decades, she'd served the Thalassian Empire with cold precision, her emotions carefully regulated by years of disciplined training. Her people prided themselves on logic, on the suppression of primitive feelings that led to chaos and weakness, yet beneath her, this human male radiated a warmth that seemed to seep through her very skin, igniting something she'd only read about in Forbidden's historical text. "Desire." "I don't understand," she murmured, her blonde hair shifting like silk as she leaned closer, studying the strange patterns of brown and gold in his eyes. "Your species should repulse me. Our empires are enemies." And yet, Jax's hands remained steady on her waist, though she noticed his breathing had quickened to match hers. "And yet?" he prompted gently, that infuriating half-smile still playing at his lips. "And yet I find myself utterly fascinated." Her fingers traced the line of his jaw experimentally, marveling at the texture of his stubble. "Your skin is so rough, primitive, nothing like our smooth integument." She paused, her voice dropping. Why does that make my pulse race? Maybe, Jock said carefully, his thumbs unconsciously stroking small circles against her sides. We're not as different as your empire wants you to believe. Solara's laugh was unexpected, a musical sound that surprised even her. You're quite bold for someone currently pinned beneath an enemy commander. Technically, you're the one pinning me, Jax pointed out, his smile widening. I'm just being a gentleman and not complaining about the view. Heat flooded Solara's navy blue cheeks, a darker indigo blush that made her look away for the first time. You're flirting with me. Is it working? She met his gaze again, and the raw honesty in those human eyes made something in her chest constrict pleasantly. Disturbingly so. Her voice softened. I should despise you. My training dictates that I should have already neutralized you as a potential threat. Instead, I'm... She trailed off, unable to articulate the storm of sensations. Enjoying yourself? Jock supplied. That's forbidden, Solara whispered, but her body betrayed her words by pressing closer, her face now mere inches from his. Emotional attachment is a weakness. Especially with, she gestured vaguely at him, with a devastatingly handsome human explorer? Jox offered helpfully. Despite everything, her training, her duty, her empire's strict protocols, Solara found herself laughing again. The sound felt foreign yet wonderful. Your ego matches your species' reputation. What reputation is that? That humans are impossibly charming, dangerously curious, and absolutely terrible at following rules. Her fingers traced the collar of his vest. Tell me, Lieutenant, do you always let strange aliens lie atop you in alien forests? Only the beautiful ones, Jox replied without hesitation. And only when they crash out of the sky like falling stars. The metaphor made Solara's breath catch. In Thalassian poetry, the kind that was banned from military installations, lovers were often described as celestial phenomena. You shouldn't say such things to me. Why not? Because, she whispered, her lips now dangerously close to his, they make me want things I shouldn't want. Like what? Jox's voice had gone husky. Solara's violet eyes searched his face, her centuries of conditioning warring with the undeniable pull drawing her to him. Like staying here, forever. The alien forest hummed around them, oblivious to the revolution occurring on its moss-covered floor. Somewhere overhead, Solara's damaged pod sputtered and died, its distress beacon fading to silence. Neither of them noticed. Tell me about Thalassia, Jack said softly, one hand carefully moving to brush a strand of golden hair from Solara's face. The gesture was tender, intimate, and completely natural, everything her culture had taught her to fear. What's it like, your home world? The question surprised her. Most species, when confronted with Thalassian military might, asked about weapons, fleet positions, strategic weaknesses. This human wanted to know about home. It's... Solara hesitated, her professional mask cracking further. Beautiful. 3 moons orbit our primary planet, each one painted in different hues: crimson, silver, and deep jade. When they align, the night sky looks like an artist's canvas. Her voice grew wistful. I haven't seen it in 7 years. Jox's expression softened with understanding. Military service? Since I was 16 cycles old. She traced absent patterns on his chest, her defenses crumbling with each passing moment. They said I showed promise. High intellect, exceptional physical capabilities, and... She paused, bitterness creeping into her tone. A natural talent for emotional suppression. That sounds lonely, Jox observed quietly. The simple empathy in those 3 words shattered something deep inside Solara. Her violet eyes glistened. I never realized how much until this very moment. Until I felt this. She pressed her hand flat against his chest, feeling his heartbeat strong and steady beneath her palm. What is this called in human terms? This overwhelming sensation? Attraction, Jack said. Connection, chemistry. He covered her hand with his own. We have lots of words for it, but none of them quite capture the feeling, do they? No, Solara breathed. They don't. She shifted slightly, and both of them inhaled sharply at the friction. This is madness. My superior officers would have me court-martialed, possibly executed. We could stop, Jax offered, though his eyes said he desperately hoped she wouldn't accept. Solara's laugh was shaky. Could we? Because I'm not certain I possess that strength anymore. She leaned down, her blonde hair creating a private world around them, her lips hovering just above his. You've undone 30 years of conditioning in approximately 8 minutes, Lieutenant Harlan. What does that say about your species' danger level? That we're excellent at making first impressions? Jax's smile was warm, inviting. Or maybe it says that what you're feeling isn't weakness, it's honesty. Being alive. Being real. We're enemies, Solara whispered, but her body betrayed her words, molding more completely against his. Our fleets have been positioning for war for months. You should capture me, interrogate me, use me for intelligence. Should I? Jax's hand moved to cup her face, his thumb gently stroking her navy blue cheek. Because right now, all I want is to know your favorite color. What makes you laugh and whether you taste as sweet as you look. The raw desire in his voice made Solara's entire body flush deeper indigo. You're impossible. I'm interested, he corrected. There's a difference. My favorite color, Solara said suddenly, her voice trembling with vulnerability, is amber. Like Earth's sunlight through your atmosphere. We don't have that on Thalasia. Our star burns blue-white, cold and distant. She met his gaze. I've dreamed of warmth my entire life, Jax, and you. Her voice caught. You burn like a sun. The intimacy of her confession, the use of his first name sent electricity through Jax's nervous system. Solara, he murmured, testing the shape of her name on his tongue. That's beautiful. What does it mean? Silver wave, she translated, a slight smile playing at her blue lips. My mother named me after the ocean that borders our capital city. She used to say I had her restless spirit. Pain flickered across her features. They reassigned her to a mining colony when I joined the military. Emotional attachments are discouraged. Jax's jaw tightened. That's cruel. That's survival, Solara corrected, but without conviction. Or so they taught us. She traced the line of his collarbone through his vest. Tell me about your people, Jax. Tell me why your touch feels like coming home to a place I've never been. We're explorers, Jax said, his hands now resting comfortably on her hips, as if they'd been made to fit there. Dreamers. We look at the stars and see possibilities instead of threats. We believe in second chances and finding family among strangers. He paused, his eyes intense. We believe in following our hearts, especially when it defies logic. That's terrifying, Solara whispered. Or liberating, Jax countered. Depending on your perspective. Solara's resistance was dissolving like morning frost under warm sunlight. Her fingers trembled as she explored the strong lines of his face, memorizing every detail. If I kiss you, Jax Harlan, there's no returning to who I was. Do you understand that? If you kiss me, Jax replied, his voice rough with want, I promise to make it worth the revolution. A laugh bubbled up from Solara's chest, genuine, unguarded, joyful. Such arrogance! What makes you think you're that good? Only one way to find out, Commander. His smile was pure mischief mixed with tenderness. Solara's breath stuttered. Every fiber of her being screamed warnings, protocol violations, treason, the unforgivable sin of emotional compromise. But beneath those manufactured fears lay something far more powerful, the simple, undeniable truth that she'd never felt more alive than she did at this moment, pressed against this impossible human who looked at her like she was precious rather than dangerous. "I don't wish to move," she confessed again, echoing her earlier words. "Ever? Then don't," Jock said simply. "Stay right here. With me. For how long? How about we start with this moment and see where it leads?" Solara's violet eyes searched his face one final time, looking for deception, for manipulation, for any sign that this was an elaborate trap. All she found was honest desire mixed with something even more dangerous, genuine care. "You could be my enemy," she whispered. "Or I could be your destiny." Jox replied. The dam broke. Solara closed the final inch between them, her lips meeting Jax's with an intensity that stole the breath from both their lungs. The kiss was everything her training had warned against, desperate, passionate, completely uncontrolled. His mouth was warm, softer than she'd imagined, tasting faintly of mint from his ration pack. She made a sound low in her throat, surprised by her own hunger. Jax's hands tightened on her waist, pulling her impossibly closer as he returned her kiss with equal fervor. His fingers tangled in her blonde hair, marveling at its silken texture, at how perfectly she fit against him despite their different worlds, different biologies, different everything. When they finally broke apart, both gasping, Solara's eyes were wide with wonder. That was... She struggled for words in any of the 7 languages she spoke fluently. "Yeah," Jox agreed breathlessly. "It really was." Solara laughed, another genuine, unguarded sound that she was learning to love, and pressed her forehead against his. "I'm in so much trouble." "We both are," Jox admitted. "My commanding officer is going to lose his mind when I report this." "If you report this," Solara corrected, her violet eyes dancing with mischief he was already finding addictive, "perhaps we could keep this particular first contact." "Classified?" "Commander Solara," Jock said with mock severity, "are you suggesting I withhold information from my superiors?" "Absolutely." She kissed him again, lighter this time, playful. "Consider it an act of interstellar diplomacy. The most pleasant diplomatic mission I've ever undertaken," Jox murmured against her lips. They stayed like that for countless minutes, trading kisses and whispered confessions, learning the geography of each other's smiles. The forest around them had grown golden with late afternoon light, casting everything in warm amber tones, Solara's favorite color. Eventually, reality intruded. Solara's comm unit crackled with static, her fleet's automated search pattern beginning its sweep of the sector. She silenced it with obvious reluctance. "I should go," she said, but made no move to leave her position atop him. "They'll be looking for me." "And I should continue my survey," Jax agreed, equally immobile. "My team's expecting an update." Neither moved. Solara smiled, tracing his lips with one elegant finger. "This is illogical." "Completely," Jox confirmed, capturing her hand and kissing her knuckles. "When can I see you again?" "You want to see me again?" The vulnerability in her question made his heart ache. "Solara," Jock said seriously, "I've waited my entire life without knowing I was waiting for you. Now that I've found you, I'm not letting you go without a fight." Her eyes glistened. "Your species really is dangerously charming. Is that a yes?" Solara kissed him once more, pouring every ounce of her newfound emotion into it. "There's a neutral moon 3 systems from here," she whispered against his lips. "Theta Station. Traders, smugglers, people who don't ask questions. Meet me there in 1 week?" "I'll be there," Jax promised, "even if I have to steal a shuttle." With visible effort, Solara finally reluctantly rose to her feet, immediately missing the warmth of his body. She helped pull him up, their hands lingering together longer than necessary. 1 week, she repeated, backing toward her damaged pod, her eyes never leaving his. "Don't make me regret this, Jocks Harlan." "Never," he vowed Dot as Solara activated her emergency beacon and prepared for extraction. She allowed herself one final look at the human who had shattered her world and rebuilt it in the span of an afternoon. He stood there in the golden light, disheveled and beautiful, watching her with an expression that promised everything she'd never dared to want. "Solara?" Jocks called as her fleet's recovery beam began to materialize. "For what it's worth. You were worth the tumble." Her laughter echoed through the forest as she dematerialized, carrying with her the memory of warmth, of Forbidden's kisses, and of a future suddenly bright with impossible possibilities. Jack stood alone in the clearing, touching his lips and grinning like a fool. 1 week. He could wait 1 week. Barely. End.